Hey out there, everybody. Welcome again to Blue Green's World, and I have an amazing person to talk to today. I'm going to let him talk about it. So, who are you and what do you do?
My name's Bart Sullivan. I am a librarian. I am a newspaper reporter. I am a storyteller and overall a book addict.
A book addict. Okay, so has this been a lifelong affair with you?
Unfortunately,
So, do you remember some of your first books that you loved?
I still have a copy of Snoopy versus the Red Baron. It was like a little, it wasn't a little golden book, but it was in that type of, format.
I love it. I like to read as a child, but some of the problems I had was if I didn't find interest in it, I'd read and be like, what did I read? But if I was into it, especially science fiction, fantasy, things of that nature, I could read those and be right through. But then I go to study. I, weird. So you've been a lifelong reader, and it evolved. Did you go to college for to be a librarian? How does that work?
I started off in college going to be a journalist, actually. And my first year, I learned the hard way the first year of college. So after I kind of flunked out of the journalism program, I started looking at where I'd like to be. And my first job was in a library. Ever in high school, I started there, and I'm in the same library that I started at. I'm in the same library now that I started at in high school.
Journalism. First off, I just want everybody to know they've watched. I'm not a journalist. Okay, I'm a storyteller. I tell people that all the time because journalism, you have a strict code. You have to follow a standard. I think it's a different profession. Completely what I do. I
Very
talk to
much.
people. I edit out stories, and that was a big eye opener to me when I was in school because I went for communications. Right. And the first time that I had a news writing class, the very first day, the very first class, we get done. There's like 15 minutes left. I'm thinking we're going to leave. They're like, break out and you got to write me a story and it turned in by the end of the class. And it has to be so many words. And I was just like, whoa, I don't like this. I don't like the pressure of journalism. I don't like being forced to write. So, is that something you found when you were in school?
That I don't think I even really got as far as the writing classes. I was still taking some of the history of communication, history of news, that type of stuff.
And some of those are pretty, I don't know, they weren't my cup of tea. I mean, I wanted to get in and do stuff, that
Exactly.
was in learning about in communication, there's a sender and a receiver and this whole diagrams and pictures. And it's like, yeah, well, yes, I don't want to learn the science. I just want to talk to people. So I can get why journalism turned you off because it definitely turned me off. And no offense, journalists, it's not what I do. I don't want to be held to that standard. I'm a storyteller. I let other people tell their stories and I make them into something. So you've been here now for how long at this library?
Um, uh, 20, 22, 23 years.
And what library are we at?
We are at the Cuyahoga Falls Library.
So those of you watching that come to the Cuyahoga Falls Library, this is the man you see when you come here, and we're learning a little bit more about him. So I've known you for a while now. Full disclosure. Wow, I don't even know how long it's been since we've been storytelling. We didn't share the stage together telling stories, but I'm also a storyteller, and I love to go tell stories, and so does Bart. And it's been amazing, doing that route. I'm kind of bummed that it's not going anymore. I
Yes, I
wish we
wish.
should.
I know I had heard that they were working on something, but I haven't heard anything since then. So I hope another one happens.
I need to reach out and talk with him. Benji, I talked with him a little bit. He reached out, wanted to talk, and I said, "Yeah, that'd be great," but I never set up a time. Unfortunately, I just didn't, and he didn't follow up. But I would love to work with them on some stuff. But I think we need to record it and make a whole show out of it.
Yeah.
Like not like a aired show, but like a YouTube show. I mean,
Like
there's
it was at the beginning.
yes,
Yes.
yes, agreed. There's a lot of shows now. They're doing really big out there. They're in the podcast realm that are doing basically talent shows. Kill Tony's one. It's a comedy, but they're doing huge out of Texas, and it's all comedy driven. But you could do the same format with storytelling, with musicians, with just oddball performances. No offense to what some of the stuff you see, but there was some interesting stuff that went on when it was bigger than a bread box and how else was it called? Wandering Aesthetics,
The EP
the
Cooker.
EP Cooker. Yeah, they gave us a lot. I mean, for me, it gave me confidence. I mean, I had done some stuff at poetry nights, and stuff, but never really did anything until then.
That was actually the first time since high school choir that I had really gotten up on a stage. I was nervous about my storytelling. In fact, when I lost out in journalism in my first year of college, I went into English and I felt more comfortable because it was all about writing and it was writing on my own terms versus having to get something out on a deadline.
Deadlines are hard. I mean, I don't know. I'm good on a deadline, I guess, but it's got to be a deadline I like, and that's what I never really liked the assignments I got. I
Yeah.
guess we'll say.
But getting up on stage there, it took me a couple tries, but Kyle and Benji, they were great at helping me. I didn't completely get over my fear, but I was more willing to get up there and tell a story, even if I was making it up, as I stood there.
I'm pretty sure I was there for your first story. Was it at Chili's?
No, my first story
Was
was of been at
or was it?
it was an Akron library.
Yes, the library. Okay, okay.
And it was, I think it was their second show. And I remember it was in October. It was the day before I was going to go take a trip down to Columbus. And I said, I'm going to go and check it out. And because I had heard on, I don't remember what podcast it was that it was called, but they had aired a story from a previous show by my friend Ruben Ryan. And I always loved hearing stories from him. And I thought, oh, well, this is coming up. I'm going to check it out. And I don't know what came over me, but I decided, just hearing other people's stories, it's like, I got one.
It is that way. And Ruben's been on the show. I interviewed him for Point No Return, right? The improv. He's the head of it now, I guess. It's been around forever. But yeah, Ruben's a very talented guy and does great storytelling. And yeah, it encouraged me too. I was like, I can give it a try. And everybody's got their own style. And I've been humbled by, I think I get a great story and I go up there and tell it. And then you see some storytellers come in and man, they're just so good. But it's not like, I don't know. I don't feel like I was ever in a competition with people. It felt more like a camaraderie. And I felt good for the people, when they got a good story. And then the same people can have a bad story too. They can do a great story one week and then the next week, they just didn't hit the groove, But it's kind of like a sport. It's a different kind of sport. I mean,
Yeah.
I wish we had more of that. I really do. Maybe we should start something like that. Who knows? More to come. So let's talk about this newspaper you started. What is the full name of it?
It's called the Falls Free Press.
Now, is this all you? Is this
No?
Okay.
This started off as a small little project about 6, 7 years ago. I think it's been that long, really. It was a small group of us who got together down at the former Studio 2091, and we wanted to there was no real local newspaper around. The Beacon had gotten bought out. It was owned by a company in Florida. The Falls News Press and all the Record Courier newspapers were also purchased by the company that bought the Beacon. We had, the closest we had was the Plain Dealer. And even that, is owned by so-and-so who owns so-and-so. There was no real local paper anymore. And it was all news coming from somebody across the country who, even though, journalism is bipartisan, it was very right-wing leaning journalism.
Yeah.
So we decided, we're going to change that. And it started off where we were writing articles. There was probably about 10 of us at the time. And our editors would sit down and look at our different articles for people. We had plans to print it. We were going for every 2 months to be printed, and we learned that it's very difficult to get sponsorships to the paper and get ad sales. And after about 3 issues, we decided to call that part quits and continue just strictly online.
And you said Studio 2091, right?
Yes.
That's Amy Motherboss Studio,
It was,
correct?
yes.
For people that are listening, heard that. It's no longer there, but it was a great studio. That's where I met your father
Yes.
at, who did artwork, and his father, Thomas Sullivan. Does it go by Tommy or Thomas, or both? Okay,
Yeah.
either or. He's been in one of my films. He played a bartender at a bar called Iron Mike's in a film I made a long time ago, back when I was a filmmaker. Who knows? I might do it again someday. But yeah, so I guess I kind of know your family a little bit. So full disclosure, good people. If you ever see your dad out, and he's his dad, check him out. Say hi. He's got some interesting. He got an interesting vehicle too. We used in the we one of his. I don't know if it's still his van, but we had one of his vans in the show too. So, anyways, it's about you, not about him. Maybe I'll interview your dad sometime. So how many people are involved with it now?
Right now we have 6 of us total, and we're always looking for new people, to write articles or, find information for us, anything like that. But there's about 6 of us right now. Correction, there are 7 of us. There are 7 of us, and I try to get articles out when I can. A lot of them, what we have lately in the newspaper has been police blotters. There's been city council notes if people are looking to find out what's happening to city council. I know Facebook, you're always going Facebook. It's like, well, why don't they let people know what's going on? What if I can't make a city council meeting? Well, we print those, and information about what happened there. If you're, it's something that maybe wasn't in their notes but happened, well, they're in there. But then on top of the articles in the paper and the columns, we also have the Fallscast, which is our semi-monthly podcast. We try to do it every 2 weeks or so. And we'll interview people from around town, business owners, council people, anybody interesting we could find that would like to be on the show. I believe it was, I don't remember the last interview that we had. I know it was, I interviewed a bunch of people over at the Acton Comic-Con while I was there. And during the between summer and fall, we always interviewed all the Cuyahoga Falls City Council people that are on the ballot. We just interviewed everybody before this most recent ballot because very few people were changing, and our goal was we want to get the new people. We're still working on getting them. There are 2 or 3 new people coming on council, but it's a clean sweep this ballot from last time.
Well, it's going to be a busy time for you then.
It is.
And this is all just passion?
This is all just volunteer on our part. Like I said, we wanted something out there, and it started off like, well, maybe at one point we might be able to get paid for what we're doing, but now it's just sort of it's a passion project. We do a lot more podcasts than we do getting articles out, but every now and then we'll have an article popping up. And even our former editor-in-chief, Alex, he just sent us an article. He ended up moving down to Cincinnati, and he sent an article from it. He came back on vacation and visited a local restaurant and wrote a review of it and sent it all over to me. So, even when people are gone, they're still printing stuff.
So do you have a website for this?
Our website is fallsfreepress.com.
Fallsfreepress.com. Okay,
Yes.
I'll make sure that's somewhere listed when this pops up, or the website will be on the screen or something, so we'll find you. So let's say, let's go with two demographics that might be able to help that have free time. Kids, high school kids, that want to write. Possibly they might want to write as an assignment to send over. That's a thought. Maybe someone's watching this younger, or maybe someone younger that's passionate about writing. And then there's senior citizen too. A lot of people that have more time on their hands that might want to write articles. So I mean, there might be some people, because it's hard to find time in between.
Exactly.
But so if anybody's watching this, I'm sure they could use some help. And when it comes to getting stuff too, just don't send them rough pieces of scraps of paper and be like, here's an article. I mean, I don't know. Try your best, I'm assuming, to get it together in a format that's pretty
But,
decent.
I mean, a lot of, like, even some of us on the staff say, like, we're not a good writer, not a good writer. But, when they've written stuff, I look at it, or our assistant editor will look at it, and both of us be like, yeah, I don't see much that needs change. And it's like, you wrote a good article. And, I think that falls down to, like, I wasn't confident when I started doing stories. And it's like, I just needed to get out there and do it. And I know that we have had several people from the community, because at the end of every show, we say, if you're looking to write, or if you're looking to contribute in some way, email us, let us know. And we have gotten a couple articles from community members. We actually had one person who listened to our special Joycast episode and composed a couple pieces of music and sent them to us.
Wow, that's impressive. And I made whole pieces of music and sent them to you. Interesting. So it's really, if you want to do something, just do it. I wanted to make a TV show and I did it. And it's a lot of work. I mean, it's not easy calling people. Because we do similar things, we call people, we got to set up time to talk with them, we got to go meet with them, possibly take photographs, maybe do video, and then edit together. Your end, you do video or audio or text editing. I'm doing the same thing, but with visuals. It's such a lot of work, but you can do this too. I mean, I'm nobody special. I just, like, you said, with practice.
Yeah.
That's really what it can. And on stage, even the first couple times I did my on stage presence, it wasn't that good. I was behind the camera for years. I mean, I was the guy. It's like no one knew who I was. I was just some guy running a camera in the back and did all the hard labor, while everybody else did everything. And I edited stuff, and no one ever. And I was scared to death to get in front of a camera. But then I started seeing other people. No offense to the people I've worked with, and I'm not naming any names or anything, but I've worked with some people that just were really bad on camera. And it's just like, I could do better, and just do it. You ever read something and be like, I can write a better story than this, or no one's writing about this? That's the other thing that really got me, was how many stories are everywhere. And like you said, is there anybody really? I mean, there are a few local entities doing stuff. There are the NPR, there is PBS, but there is also Signal is doing some stuff.
Signal, there's a new one called the Summit here. That just came out within the last year, I believe.
And we love all these things. The more news sources, the better. I mean, and if you want to see this survive and you like this, fund it. Send some money their way. I mean, you're right. We have no one telling our stories anymore. We have stories we're getting from other places or whatnot, or the stories we're hearing, or like someone got shot last night, the bad stuff.
Yes.
We hear all the bad stuff, or the meth raccoon. That's like literally that's not even a mile from where I live.
Sadly, that was the best part of the latest episode of Last Week Tonight. And I mean, if that's the best thing that they were able to report on, that's not good.
I was watching the Bill Maher show and they mentioned it, and I'm like, how is this happening? I can't get recognized, but a raccoon in a car on a meth pipe a block from my house gets recognized. I get talent too. Do I need a meth pipe to make it look happen? Jeez. I'm not going to do that. I'm just joking, of course. And Ohio isn't all about meth either. If you're from this state, well, there is a lot of meth in Ohio. There's methy people in Ohio. There's not denying. I go to Goodwill a lot and shop for stuff, and I see people all the time. And I ask them, like, are they methy? Like, we think so. They have like 5 carts of stuff running back and forth, filling the carts up, putting it back, hanging on the ground, going to the dressing room. I don't know. Just, anyways, we're veering off. But that's what a podcast is about, right? When we see this on PBS, it'll be all edited, and you won't see me. You'll see that guy. So what's it like? What's your process like? Your writing process. How do you do this?
Usually, writing process,
Mhm.
it comes to looking at some of the events that are happening in town, things that like, oh, there's a new art installation coming up. Then you sit down and work on that. For instance, when the Don Drum statue was planned for the Hybrids Glens Park, I sat down and spoke to somebody at Don Drum Studios and got some information about the statue and learned a little bit more about it. And then when at that point, by the time the article was finished, the statue was just getting like finishing up. They had plans for it. I got a picture of the actual outline of what the statue would look like and posted that with the article. And then it goes from sitting down, working on an article, turning it off, going away, and coming back a couple hours later, looking at it and saying, okay, this is good. And then I send it off to our assistant editor, and she looks at it, looks good, and then I go on and post it.
And when it comes to the writing field and editor, I mean, in all media films, editing is important, but specifically in writing, it's very
Yes.
important. I am very creative. I'm a creative writer. I can come up with stories and whatnot. But when it comes to my grammar and whatnot, it Grammarly has helped tremendously and that. But there's a lot of things that I still get caught up on because I wasn't the greatest English student. So
Well, yeah,
I hope that's inspired to somebody that doesn't do that well in English. You can still be a great storyteller and not excel in some things.
exactly. And it could happen, you could write something perfect, absolutely perfect, and there still be some sort of error in there that you got to go back and fix.
Oh, it's amazing how you get glaring error. You
Yeah.
don't even see. Your mind just glosses right over it. And it has, luckily, I have a way with visually, I can just like tune it out and like not listen to the audio when I do my show and just watch it and make sure that there's no problems. But occasionally you miss something. It's like, oh, wow, I didn't realize that was in the background or.
I have that problem because I don't like listening to myself speak. And when you're editing audio where you're the moderator, there's a lot of you speaking.
I got used to it quickly hearing my voice, and my voice has changed too. I think because I'm on camera, it's changed. I've modified it. I mean, I'm getting older too. It's gotten more resonant, but my voice was way quicker and way faster before when I was younger, and I don't like my voice then, but now I kind of like my voice. I've gotten used to hearing it. I don't know, it's weird, but I used to hate it. I used to hate seeing myself on camera, and I just don't judge myself. I don't see my imperfections, and luckily, no one's mean. Well, hey, here's your chance to be mean to me now. No one's like, look at that guy. What's he doing? What's he thinking? But generally, people are pretty nice. I mean, um, but I find it refreshing when I find people that are pursuing their passions first off, because not many people do in life. I mean, they pursue money, or they pursue desire, or they pursue the American quote unquote dream, the picket fence and all that stuff, which you'd all like to have, but are they really doing what they want to do? I wonder. So, I mean, I'd like to have a much bigger podcast, a bigger footprint, but I'm doing what I love and I'm telling stories.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I can sleep well at night from doing what I do. I mean, the pressures of the world is still there. That's never going to go away, but I feel good about telling stories. Um, I don't know I mean, I feel a sense of accomplishment when I get a story done. Do you feel that when
I
you
do.
publish?
Yes. And mostly because, again, sometimes it might be a while between stories, but it's like, I want this story told. I want this story out there. And once I sit down and write it, I'm happy because there's something written there. I got it out, and yeah, it might still need edited, but once it gets final draft, there's a photo to go with it. It's up on the website. It's like it's there. It's like, yeah, one, I would love if it was in a print format. I could hold it in my hand, but at the same time, what's that? Somebody can just take that and throw it in the trash. Whereas online, it's like, you know what? I have multiple copies saved to my hard drive. I have it online. It's out there. And not only is it out there for people locally, anyone all over the world can see it.
It is the World Wide Web. We forget about that www a lot of times, and we just think it's the internet, but anybody can find it and see it. And there's a lot of people that aren't that used to live here that aren't here anymore, and they want to see what's happening in this area, and they'll fall back to that. I do feel a big sense of accomplishment when I get a story done. It is nice to get it done, and to get out to the world. So when you see a print story, a video story is being done specifically by local people, share it. Tell your friends, hit that share button again and again and again, and put it on different channels. Like if you have Instagram, and then share it as many places you possibly can share. I know you can't share some things to Instagram, but you get my point. Cross-platform share it, because the best compliment you can do to an independent producer is share our work. Share and like, comment too. Share, like, and comment. Those three things push us up to the top. Smash the like button. I mean, it encourages us to do more, and I don't know. I like seeing views, and I like it's fun. So what's something about editing and what's something about like that people wouldn't realize, you think, when doing storytelling? That to the average person will say that's not like what's I don't know. I guess for me, like it's hard to leave things on the ground, like when I do stories and editing. Because there's such good pieces that never make it in the story, that because the story has an arc, right? You got to have a story arc at least even in the news stuff, they don't just like fact, like a machine gun. Some stuff doesn't fit into the story. So that's what I wrestle with the most, is leaving stuff. Now that we do a podcast, we're not leaving anything. People can go back and watch it, but that's one of the things I struggle with. Do you find yourself struggling with editing and leaving stuff out?
With the podcast, I do sometimes leave a lot of stuff out. Sometimes the stuff that gets taken out gets put into a folder and is added as B-roll later. But it's with podcasting, like for instance, here, when you get into just talking back and forth and forgetting what we were supposed to be talking about, that's the problem with podcasting. At least on our end, where there's supposed to be a round table of topic.
Mm-hmm.
I find with articles, sometimes there is too much information that I want to get out there. And it's just like, if I put that paragraphs in there, I feel like there's nothing connecting those two. And it's like, yeah, that information's good, but I don't know how to weave that quote into something else, because it just doesn't make sense.
And there's probably, at least with my end, there's a fine line of how much someone's going to read and how much someone's going to watch too. A nice sweet spot of 250, 500 words, whatever your sweet spot might be. 250, 500 is not a hard read.
I've written, I think in the words of Sarah Val, I've written Aerosmith reviews longer than the Gettysburg Address.
And I could do 30-minute edited videos, but what are people going to watch? That's the beauty of the podcast. Like you say, you edit the podcast, and I love the long form. This is what I really enjoy, is the conversation, because I don't like being told, well, here's exactly what I want you to believe.
Yeah.
When I want to see the soup, I want to see the stew, I want to see the ingredients. When it comes to journalism, it's like a chef. You chop the stuff up and you give them, here's what you want, which can be great and which can be fantastic if it's done properly. But I always wonder what they leave out.
Exactly.
What if they would have left this carrot or this thyme or whatever spiced in? Maybe it would have been a better piece, So that's what I love about this then. So maybe when you go back, maybe if you watch this right now, they can go, oh, I watched the show and I saw what he edited out. Now I can see, it didn't make any sense to put that in there. But there's sometimes you just can't throw in something because it sounds good. It's like, ooh, that was great, but why did you say that? Or what would it have to do with anything you were writing about whatsoever? So this is online now. I guess you said ultimately you'd like to see print.
I'd love to see it, be able to print it on physical, but again, we don't really have that anymore. And I think it falls along the same lines of like when I was a kid, one of those big dreams was one of my big dreams was I want to own a bookstore. And and it's just like I want that along with being a print journalist. I think both of those have fallen along the way just due to time.
And I wonder too if that's like an age thing, the print, that we want print,
Yeah.
we think like newspaper, we think book, is that like imprinted on us because our parents, so we saw them and we want to like strive to like make something that they're going to enjoy, is it like a Freudian thing? I wonder sometimes,
Part of the problem, the way I see it is print, once you have a book, have it printed on paper, nothing can change. You could put out a new edition and make corrections and say that old edition is recalled. There was a cookbook a couple of years ago that was like that, where they recalled it and a couple of weeks after it came out and a new edition came out. But when it's online, online is where you can go in and make changes to everything. This is a Wikipedia world where everyone has access to it. And I feel like once it's in your hands, it's like, well, there it is. Now, yes, I can find information, different to this, but at least I know, hey, look at this. Nothing in this book can be, altered in any way.
What's interesting about that too is how that's like transformed into all media. You can get the original Star Wars edits that are different. You can't even find them today. The way the films were originally edited, they've been changed so much.
I watched the original Lilo and Stitch the other day and got so mad when I saw that it wasn't a dryer.
But just things are gone, and you're like, did I not see that? I mean, and you have to wonder. Then we get this whole Mandela effect aspect of people, and in reality, a lot of those Mandela effects are just things that have been erased or been taken up. A lot of them, but some of them are. They were there. It's just for some reason when they did the reprint, it's gone.
We are definitely living in the e-universe.
Disney is notorious for doing that stuff. I mean, they constantly cut out things, which I don't know. Times change and things change, and some things merit changing. I agree, but we should be able to go back and look at those and realize, okay, this was a messed up time, right? And I don't want to pick out any particular pieces. You just say this was a time period. We'll say it's 1955. This was made.
Yeah.
This is what was in the mentality of 1955. So you see that. Now, was it right? No. But we should be able to go back and see that, I feel. And then also see the edits along the way to see how it went. But yeah, I never really thought about the print aspect, And I guess when you put a DVD out, like in the video realm, when you put something out, it's there and you can change it. But yeah, then they go back and rechange everything, unfortunately. And that's driven by money.
That'll be another copy. It won't be the copy that you had. You'd have to get a different copy to get that change. Whereas online, again, you can just hit the delete button and suddenly that's no longer available.
Okay, so I got some more questions here for you, and then you can ask me questions as well, because we're going to do like a dual interview here today. So libraries, right? You're at a time, and you've seen a lot of times change in your time of being in libraries. You've seen, you said 23 years, you said?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
So we're going back to Bush.
I started in 2000.
So we're going back to Bush, right? We're going back to Bush, and then two Obamas, and then a Trump, and then we've had Biden, now we got Trump again, and you've seen all the political aspects with the library. Libraries changed too in those 23 years. You went from like a main source of stuff that you had to come in physical copies, and now online.
Exactly.
So tell me about this evolution, and I guess where do you think it's going?
I would say libraries are still here for you to come in and get the information that you need. Even if we can't get a physical book, we can still get you that information. That's what public libraries are for. And I feel that in this 25 years since, I first started shelving books, that it went from, this is just where you go get your books. And maybe you can check out a VHS tape. God, again, it was videotapes back then. to now you don't even have to come in. You can get all your ebooks, delivered straight to your device. You can subscribe to magazines and have them come, and they're all free. Or, get on one of the digital streaming services the library has. Or you come in and you use the library's makerspace. Makerspace has become so big, not just libraries, but just in general. Come in and use the supplies. And I feel that there's more and more that people are coming to the libraries for. Come in and, well, I want to watch something on Netflix, but I can't afford Netflix, and I don't have anything to play it on other than my computer. Oh, well, I'll go check out a Roku. And, they have Netflix, okay? And, go binge the latest season of Stranger Things, and then return it. Or, you're suddenly your power goes out, and you need to get your work done, and I see so many libraries now have mobile hotspots. And, come to the library. You can't work at the library. You have to work at home. Take the internet with you.
And I do a ton of interviews in libraries too. I mean, they always have a space available. You have to rent it in advance. Sometimes you have to set up. I mean, I do for public access, so they let me use it for free since it's for PBS. But yeah, you have to set up in advance, and it's great to film in the library. Libraries are wonderful. And I don't know if people like, when I was coming out, when I wanted a question, you literally had to go to the library. You couldn't Google it. You couldn't do the internet. There wasn't the internet when I was a child. There wasn't even there might have been some scientist aspect in the middle of, NASA somewhere doing, a read that I wasn't on, but anything. You had to go down to the library and get a librarian to talk with, and they would find you the book and you'd find an answer. Or you could go ask some sketchy uncle or aunt that would give you some quasi answer. Oh yeah, that's what it is. And you go and turn it in and tell them, my uncle told me that was the answer, and you get an F on your paper, which happened, back in the day. But how much of even when I was in college, I didn't have a word processor or anything. No. I had to go to the library and type out my papers in there and sign up for time. Well, that's when there was the internet, and people would sign up for time to browse on the internet beside me while I was trying to type up my paper that was due the next day, and they're doing whatever next to me. And yeah, let your mind wonder. They were doing that on the internet right next to me in the library where I'm trying to type my stuff. That was the university library back in the day. It's not like that anymore. I don't want to give the library a bad name. Now libraries are very nice. And I had no idea you could run a Roku. I knew you could do books. If you haven't done an audiobook yet, do yourself a favor, do it. Just do it. Do an audiobook. Get a good one. Get one that's read by the author, too. Yes. Makes it much better. Don't do the mistake I did and get 1984 read by a computer with no, emotion. And it was and bad computer, too. It wasn't a good, AI voice. It was a bad AI voice. And that was one of my first introductions to try to do it. It was really bad. But then I went and read one that had, what was the next one? The Book Thief I did.
Oh.
And it was such a and great book, by the way. The Book Thief. Oh, you'll cry, you'll laugh.
It's great narration.
And the narration is wonderful. It's so enchanting. And it's told by the story. Don't give anything away, but it's told by the point of view of death. Blow my mind.
So yeah, if you watch the movie, you were completely confused the entire time. There you go.
But I don't know about the movie. I haven't seen that yet. I've been holding up because the book was so good. The movie's probably going to really disappoint me, is my guess.
It's read. The movie is told the same way. They never tell you that first line.
They don't tell you about that being death?
No.
Oh, they don't want to bump people out right off the bat, I bet. Oh, come on.
But it's so confusing, especially if you've read the book.
Exactly. Where's this charming voice coming from? Why are they even there? Narration. See, we've gotten so used to narration that we don't even think twice about it. And in the book, that disappoints me. Anyways. Is there anything that you want to add that I haven't brought with you so far?
With libraries, really big issue of, things being taken away from libraries. And especially talking about 1984 read by a computer, there are so many issues with AI written books and AI read books. Some of them did both. Particularly the Chicago Times article recently that 2/3 of the article was completely faked. And those items don't actually exist. Some, it's weird that James Joyce would be writing a brand new book in 2025, but apparently, according to that article, he was.
Yeah. I've been struggling with thinking about AI a lot. Like, should I start using it to make movies? Just like abandon equipment altogether and just start writing really good text
Yeah.
to get films? Because I mean, that's really what they're doing, and you own it too.
Exactly. That's the problem. Like, there's so many like AI authors on like the ebook services, and then some of the some that are just read by AI and it's emotionless. But the problem is, they're faster than James Patterson.
Mm-hmm.
They get one out in like a week. It takes a month for James Patterson to get out 3.
Oh,
but
man.
They're getting them out, and it's because there was no thought put behind that book. And I do feel like that is a big problem with libraries, especially with, so many, the government trying to take away, the right to read in general.
It seems to be, I mean, I don't know how much government funding comes in for libraries, but a lot of libraries funded locally through the tax levy. So that's good. Vote for your tax levies. I mean, it's important to have libraries, even if you're not using them. Somebody is. Think of it that way. Think about people that don't have aspects. It makes. I know as a kid we didn't have a lot. I mean, nobody was destitute and poor, but we didn't have a lot of money. We went to the library a lot to get stuff. We didn't have. I don't think you could. Maybe you could do VHS tapes later on, but to get a book was just like an escape. Get a book and read through it was such a wonderful escape.
And you can go in and check out, one book, go on you plan on going on vacation, come and check out 5 books, and you could be, you could take 20 trips with that pad of books. You could sit there and go be nowhere and go on 20 different vacations.
And yeah, there's so much, and there's so much more today too. We have the maker spaces.
Yes.
I don't know. I mean, every library pretty much has some type of maker space nowadays. And it could be basic things to video production to audio production. There's some with podcast rooms in them. I'm not saying they have it here specifically, but in the area, if you call it around, you're probably going to find these things. I know in the downtown library, we put a green screen in the cameras, and I think they're still using downtown Akron at that library. I believe that's part of their maker space.
Yeah.
And they have a pretty, I mean, we're not very awesome. They have a good makerspace. There's good makerspaces all around. Call your local library, whether it be Cuyahoga Falls or Akron or wherever you're at, and check them out. And it's a public library. It's for the public. This is our place, and this is a place for us to have knowledge. So support it. That's all I can say. Vote for your levies and support it, even if you're not using it. Think of it as a benefit to society. And you never know. You might have all the money in the world right now, and you might have all your subscriptions, you might have all that, but tough times might find you, and you might find yourself to the library to get entertainment as well. So go for it. So we covered about storytelling. We talked about your writing. We talked about you working at the library, and thank you for doing that. We need more. We need more, people doling out information to people out there that's gonna send them in a good direction. Really appreciate that. So I think I covered my bases. If there's anything else you want to add, I'm good. We're going to roll right into it. The cameras are rolling.